Hola, and I want to welcome you to AMA. That's Ask Me Anything with Omoloro Oyegoke. Omoloro is live on here with us, and he will be sharing his experience in the world of technology, in the world of computing, in the world of software engineering with us in the next few minutes. And I'm sure you're going to learn a lot from him as he shares his experience and his story. All right, one of the reasons why we bring this up is to encourage young developers who are learning software skills, software engineering skills, are finding it difficult to proceed, and it looks like it's all difficult and all of that. That you can be whatever you want to be once you put your mind to it. We have these are people. Omoloro is an example of a person who started from Ibadan. We grew up in Ibadan, and now he's working with people who are not Nigerians. So which means you can take your skills to a global level. So you can achieve whatever you want to achieve in life, and that's why we want to encourage you. We want to say, okay, this is a community. We want to grow together as a community, and we want to place importance on learning and being good at what you are doing. So I have Omoloro live on here this evening, and he's going to be sharing with us his story. Omoloro has worked with a couple of companies in Nigeria before he went to Germany to work with InnoGames. He has worked with Conga. He has worked with NQLB in Lagos, Nigeria. He has also worked with One Click Technologies. Am I correct, Omoloro?
One Finance.
One what?
One Finance.
Okay, One Finance Technology, and is the co-founder of Metalloids Limited. He was also a research assistant at one point in Obafemi Awolowo University. Omoloro will be telling us more about himself and his journey in software engineering shortly, and I'm sure you get to learn a lot from him. So Omoloro, can you introduce yourself more? I've said a little about you. You know yourself more than I do. Can we have something more about you, your schooling and everything that you want to share with us quickly? All right. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tola. So, like Tola said, my name is Omoloro Oyegoke. From 2000 till 2006, I was in Ibadan Secondary School. Then I went to OAU, Obafemi Awolowo University, studied computer science with mathematics, finished in 2011. During that time, of course, I started programming. I always was interested in programming right from primary school, but then I started properly in OAU. I think around my second year, one of my friends was always going around with Dytel, Java, how to program 6th edition. They'll carry the big book around, and I was interested and intrigued. Before that time, the only thing I knew about Java was when you want to start a game or usually games on a Symbian phone, you see the Java icon and you're like, oh, okay, Java is what people use to make games. And that's how it was for me. But when I started programming, it was much more interesting than that. I was intrigued by that, and I continued to learn from that. That's why I started Metalloids with my friend Mufe, and we did graphics, we did web development, we did desktop programming as well. Left OAU in 2011, I did my NYSC in Calabar, Cross River State at the University of Technology there. And I did some applications, some Microsoft applications. I always really loved C#. Just a pity that Microsoft didn't take the right steps on time. I would probably still be a C# developer. Then I moved back to Lagos in 2014. I actually was in Ibadan that time. I'm 2013 after NYSC. I hung around in Ibadan trying to get a software development job, but I couldn't get. Ibadan didn't have enough places. Not like now that there's so many different companies in Ibadan that you can work as a programmer in. It was very different back then, and it's great to see how far Ibadan has come in the last 5 years. So 2013, I was trying to find a job. I couldn't. So like very early 2014, I got a message from a friend asking me if I was interested in a software development job in Lagos, and he was somebody who had worked on a project within IFE. So one of those projects that a lecturer will bring up and say, hey, we need students who can program, and you're like, sure, why not? Because you just want to, as much as possible, get any experience you can. So that's where I was back then, and who I tried to be for a long time. So one of the people who I had worked with on a project in Ife recommended me for this job, and it was to work at Konga. I hadn't really heard about Konga back then. I didn't really watch a lot of TV, and of course, this was late 2013, early 2014. So Konga hadn't really started making huge marketing drives like Konga did a few months later. So I joined Konga, and it was from the interview I just knew that this was a place I would really be happy to work in because we understand how the Nigerian educational system is. I struggle to explain it to some people, and some people can get it. Some people from other countries, some people just can't. But we know how it is where you're in a system where you're rewarded for what you can memorize and repeat, rather than for how you can use the knowledge you've gained to solve actual problems. And Konga's interview was that before Konga, I had worked in another company. I'd applied to another company. I didn't get in because they said I didn't get a first class from Ife. So yeah, that was like the major thing that was against me, which was probably good for me, I guess, because yeah, Konga was a much better experience for me, I think. So the interview experience was about applying the things I had, and from that time, it made me start thinking differently. Like, okay, it's finally a place where you can, all the things you've been learning, you really have to use them, and you have to continue learning and applying, which is, I think, the best way to learn, especially in a hands-on career like ours. So I worked at Konga. I was always trying to be on as many projects as I could get my hands on. Sometimes I would buy more than I could chew, obviously, but then in everything, those projects that succeeded, those that failed, there was always something to learn. And that was like one attitude I was happy that I was able to cultivate and practice to the best of my abilities. So just to keep on pushing and trying and not to be afraid to fail. So I worked in Konga for about 2 years on lots of different systems, and then I moved to One Finance and Investments. That's the company that powers Pay Later, NG, the mobile loans app. Just saw today that Pay Later has crossed 1 million downloads on the App Store, which is great. And I was there for a few months, worked on some backend systems, and then I moved to NQLB. It's a B2B company, so not as high profile as the others because it's not customer facing, it's for businesses and creating financial services for businesses in Nigeria. So I was there as a technical lead for a year. And then I moved to InnoGames in Hamburg, Germany. So InnoGames was a company I played one of the first. So when I was much younger, one of the reasons I actually wanted to become a developer was to play games. I wanted a reason to get my parents to buy a laptop for me so I could be able to play games anytime I wanted to. So when I around 2007, 2008, there was a strike in Ife. Yeah, you know the story. And I started playing the game online. It was like Age of Empires, but then it was called Tribal Wars, and it was made by InnoGames. So when I saw a career opening in InnoGames in mid 2017, I was happy to apply, and I had a call with the first level, the HR recruiter. Then I went to Germany for an on-site interview, and then I ended up moving here. So all that was for between I think May and November, and then I started working in December, and yeah, still here. So that's my professional career in a nutshell.
Oh, nice one. Nice one. Long one in a short description, short narrative. All right, thanks, Omoloro. All right, my next question for you is this. What's your view about all right.
So I didn't get your question.
You didn't get the question here. I was asking, what's your view of the tech industry in Nigeria today?
Okay. I think so when we say tech now, I think that there's the plus side and the negative side. So in Nigeria today, when we say technology, we're thinking of information technology because the way the system is now, that's like the only thing that we can easily innovate in, given the limited resources that we have. I mean, we don't have electricity, you do not have a fast internet and some other things, but then at least you have some internet, you can have a laptop with battery power and all that. So you can innovate with software, you can do things with that. So when we say technology, that's what we're thinking about. But then other things like maybe solar energy and some other things that are more that are less hands-on, like less easy to come about the resources that you need, the tools that you need, than programming. It's hard for us to do that. So I think in that area, there's some of the things that we actually need. I think Nigeria is, I mean, because of the circumstances, it's hard for Nigeria to even be competitive there at all. Information technology, however, I think Nigeria is good and is getting better. So there was a time, I think back in 2014, it was hard to find, outside of things like InterSwitch, who have managed to develop and to have a huge community and a huge number of good developers and have managed to retain them and grow the system over time. It was a bit hard outside of a few companies to find good software developers in Nigeria. But then now it's different. It's much better. You have lots of different startups. You have lots of places, even outside Lagos. You have in Ibadan, for instance, lots of different places where people can go and work as software developers. And that really didn't happen just a few years ago. Like I mentioned, my experience trying to find a job in Ibadan, I was really walking around basically trying to find anywhere that did software, and there was nothing. The best I could see was networking or something. So I think considering the state of everything else in Nigeria, the IT industry is doing really well and it's just continuing to grow. Yeah, I think it's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for that. Now, we all know that while learning, there are difficult paths that you tend to cross. You come against, I mean, you come close to problems, and you're almost frustrated out of it while learning. So, has there been any hard rock for you at a point in time, and what helped? What helped out in those times when you had those problems while you were learning?
Oh, okay. So while I was learning, which will continue till now because I'm still learning every day, of course. And anybody who has been in the industry long enough, you realize that I mean, from day one you're learning and you never stop. So what happens when I face obstacles? So in the beginning, when I was just starting, there was this thing that used to happen from time to time where you are ashamed a bit of not knowing things. And I think that also is a reflection of our educational system to some extent, where you are rewarded for knowing, not for applying or innovating or doing. So if you do not know, it counts against you. So for a long time, I would just struggle through and try and force myself to know somehow. And thankfully, I started developing software in the time when Google was a thing already. Stack Overflow, I think, was started in 07 or so. So that was just around when I was beginning to program. And of course, just continued to grow in leaps and bounds from there. So I was able to always go to the resources. So sometimes, most of the time that was enough. But if it was something like more institutional, for instance, something in our company's code base and there was no resource anywhere I could find things, I always told myself that, look, if it's doable, it's software, you'd always be able to figure it out. And I learned to be able to talk to people. And many times, just talking to people helps you internalize the problem and find a solution for it. So that's one of the things, being able to, as I learned more, I learned that the limit of what my own understanding was, even within the scope, and I learned to try my best. Like, first of all, try to solve it, think about the problem, think through it, and solve it myself. And if that wasn't working, always try and talk to other people, and that was always been it for me. So first, try to do myself, then talk to people, and maybe they will have some insight. Sometimes they know nothing of the problem. Like, I have friends who maybe the person is a front ender and I'm a back end developer, and just talking to a person about it, the person could give some insight. The person doesn't know the domain, but just from that insight, I'll be able to figure things out. So those are two things that help me.
Nice. I hope someone has picked a lesson from there, learn to, relate with people and get problems solved rather than, spend a lot of time trying to figure things out yourself. And, you lose so much time trying to, run around a circle for so long a time. So learn to speak with people and, interact with people. They can lend a helping hand and save you a lot of time trying to rack your head on a particular thing. So I hope someone has picked that lesson. One of the things that we're doing here is to pick up lesson. I have to emphasize that so that people can get to, hear that point. All right. So moving on to the next question. We understand that learning is is basic in this field. Learning is basic in this field. We'd like to know what is the new thing that you just learned recently or you're learning right now?
What am I learning? So recently I started doing more front end development, which may sound cliche, but so there's a time a few years ago it was cool to be, everybody was full stack more or less because we started developing software with PHP, deploying cPanel and all that. And then after some time, we started segregating front end, back end. But now I think everything is coming together more. So some of the things that I have been learning recently um, haven't even been actual development, but more of interaction and planning for big systems. So most of the places I worked, we're always living on the edge, which was great for the point I was when I was starting. It's great to be in a place where you're always moving, always doing things. When right now I'm working in a place where people will say, okay, we can't do this now. Maybe we can do it end of 2019. And I just was when I started hearing things that I just wasn't used to me. I wasn't used to the idea of people just being able to plan 1.5, 2 years in advance in a software company because I'd never been in that kind of thing. Everything was like everything must be done yesterday, must be done now. So just learning to live with that, pace yourself. I know that look, it's not the end of the world. You will not be able to solve every problem today. So don't expect to solve every problem today. So that's one of the useful key learnings. So more about soft things. There are lots of interesting things going on. There's machine learning that seems to be hot these days. The thing that I've been very interested in now is 3D. I did that at some point. Then when I was trying to learn, I started learning programming. Then I tried to go into 3D a bit, and I saw how difficult it was. So I ran away because I wasn't going to put food on the table, especially not in Nigeria back then.
Yeah.
But then I'm interested in that game simply because I have a bit more time now, and my company where I work, we use Unity, for instance, for the game development. And I'm a game developer. I work in the payments team, but then it's something that's really interesting to me because I've always had an interest in that, and it's a different way of programming. So it's not object oriented. It's like just a different way of thinking in terms of how the components are separated and all that. And like something that I read that Linus Torvalds said, he said, learn a language that changes how you think about programming. So that's what I'm trying to do now. So not like listing, okay, Python, C Sharp, Java, all of them are like pretty much the same when you think about imperative programming and all that, but something that's a different way of structuring your code. So that's one thing that I'm looking into right now.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. Also, I would like you to tell us your favorite dev tool, the tool you prefer to use more often, right now.
Well, for development, it depends on what I'm developing. My favorite IDE from time, I think maybe Sentimental, because that's where I really started programming, was Visual Studio. I really started programming properly with C Sharp. Then I moved to Java. Right now, I mean, it's probably IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate when I can get my hands on a license. When the company buys a license, when that's fine. Because you can do everything. It puts in the Python plugin, put in the whatever it is, and just go with it. So yeah, I think my ID is fun. Always so if I have like 3 monitors, my ID is always the one in the center, full screen. Yeah, it's where I live basically. So I'm not sure if that's what you meant. Was that the question?
Yeah, probably your favorite programming language now.
Language now. I mean, maybe still C Sharp, Sentiment all time. Even though I haven't programmed anything production in C Sharp in like 4 years, but
Okay.
yeah, I just like it.
Oh,
It feels like home whenever I have to use C Sharp.
That's nice. That's nice.
But
All
mostly
right.
at work, I do mostly Java and then PHP and then JavaScript. Yeah.
Okay. So, I would like you to tell us some of the skills that you think a newbie should pick up. Some of the computer science concepts that you think a newbie or intermediate programmer should pick up to get better.
Okay. There's a list I saw on Stack Overflow, I think it was, about important skills that every software developer should know. I can't remember all of them, but some of them that I think everybody should know is you should understand computer architecture as a software developer. Understand what a register is, the theory of computing actually. So I had a lecturer once in school who said that he didn't like computer science because it was too theoretical. I'm like, of course, it's a science, it's theoretical, that's what it is. And I believe it's important to understand that science and how it works at low levels, and then you'll be able to scale applications. So I have a friend who works in Google now, and he was saying that everything you've learned, like when you have to work in a place like Google, you just forget everything because you have to start from the ground up again. And those core principles become really, really important because I mean, that's what science is about, principles, and then you build your all your engineering applications based on that. So things I think it's important to know. Learn how to type properly as soon as you can because it's one of the, I mean, just makes you look unprofessional if you have to pick your keys as a developer. So it's good. I mean, I know some really good developers who do not type properly, but the eye test, sometimes you go for an interview or like an on-site or something, and just the way of typing so in somebody's subconscious, the person just feels like, hey, I don't know what you're doing. And if you have to debug a lot of things or you're trying to, you're in like 2 or 3 servers at the same time, trying to find a problem, and you're working like payments, for instance, like me, and every second counts because every second of downtime, you're losing a certain amount of revenue, literally losing it because people can't pay. Then these things become more and more important. And it also feels better to when you have that reduced lag between what's in your head and what you can put on the screen. I think it's just good. So learn how to type. Things like regular expressions, understand them and know how to use them. I think that's really important as well. And learn the way of thinking behind the language I used and the community so that there are things like code styles and all that um, become part of you. So if you're there's a way Python developers think that's different from the way C# developers think, that's different from the way Java developers think, and the way the community builds and develops their tools. And um, even though the languages and the way they, I mean, on paper they look the same, and you can probably solve the same problems with each of them, but then the way the communities think is different. It's important for you if you want to really develop proper good software with these tools that other members of the community will respect, and you can collaborate properly with them, and you should learn how to do these things. So there are a few things I can think of on top of my head.
All right, cool. Awesome one. And they are very key, key points that you have made for anyone who wants to learn. All right, I'll be moving to questions from people who have asked questions from the community. Olaoye Pelumi is asking, what drives you to achieve more?
Um, I guess doing what I like and being stubborn. I think stubbornness is a key factor. It's really hard for me to accept defeat. And like if my program is not working, it's defeat. And I feel like a computer should not defeat me. So I will want to win that battle. So I think that's a big part of it. Then always trying to somehow feel like I'm adding value. So that perception. So sometimes I always try to find a meaning in what I'm doing. And when I can't find that meaning, it gets difficult for me to go on. So, like in Conga, for instance, we're always motivated, like, look, we're empowering people to not just be able to buy, but the sellers, because Conga was a marketplace. So that drive that, okay, empowering people to sell things and people are able to put food on the table, people are able to improve their standards of living from that. That was a good driving, a good motivation for us to just keep on doing it. Because just imagine, and the CEO at the time, CM used to paint very powerful pictures, word pictures about how people were able to, like somebody who was living in some village somewhere was able to generate this amount of income just because of the services that were provided. That was a huge motivation. And then now I think, okay, we're making games. So there's always people need to relax. The world is a very dark and crazy place, and sometimes people just need to chill out, and we're doing that for them. So for me, broadly speaking, that's one of the things. Personally, it's just always trying to be better. I'm naturally a curious person, so I always want to know and to read and random things. So not just software development. Like before I left Conga, there was a course I did on Coursera, and it was about finance, not accounting, finance, and that was probably one of the hardest things I ever did in my life. And I'm saying this as a programmer, was just like really, really hard. My brain would hurt sometimes from thinking. But it helped when I moved into one finance and I was working with like things like loans and profits and everything. I understood what was going on exactly. So just being curious and trying to learn as much as possible from anywhere is one of the things that motivates me to just keep on learning, keep on adding things.
Okay, I hope Olaoye Pelumi got that. So he's also asking, do you have mentors in the industry you learn from?
Yes, I have a few.
All right, can you mention them?
So one of the people I really look up to and who I talk to from time to time about things is Tooks. I'm sure many people have been familiar with him. So we Kumbo Fagbamigbe. He's the founder of Kota and Kush, and he was the CIO who hired me at Konga back then. And since then, we've had a really good time. He's not really a developer anymore, but then he's in the industry. He's an OG in the industry, pretty much. And he always has useful insights. And one thing that mentorship should do, mentors are not like people who will tell you, okay, my program is not compiling, and then you say, okay, oh, you missed a semicolon here. But who make people, I believe that people who help you make sure you're in the right frame of mind for what you're doing. So like the coach, for instance, Cristiano Ronaldo's coach probably cannot play football as well as him, but he makes sure he's always in the right frame of mind to be the best player he can be. So I think that's what mentors should be. And that's what I'm able to experience with the people I talk to about these things. And then not only people who have gone and are much older than me, but also some of my contemporaries as well are people who I can just like chat with and always get useful insights. And these people also help me see things from my own view and help me internalize things more. So even like, okay, Goke is on this call. Goke Basa, we talk from time to time, maybe like once in 2 or 3 months, thrice in a year. But it's always insightful having these discussions, feedback back and forth. People like there's another person at Konga, Chris Akonde, who I talk through my decisions as well. And it's great having people like that. Zainab Ayiloso as well. We talk from time to time about these things, the industry, our career, what we're doing, and it really helps to have these mentors, colleagues, people who I respect and who we can like share ideas and make sure we're in the right frame of mind for what we're doing.
Nice, nice one. Alaye is asking, what and when did the transition of you being just a developer to being a good one? At what point did that transition, take place?
I hope it's still happening because sometimes I do things and I'm wondering, okay, why did I do this and what happened? It's a continuous process. I think in the end, okay, let me narrate a discussion I had with one of the heads of engineering at InnoGames where I work, and he was saying that he was complaining about the structure basically, and it's always been a thing. I interviewed at a very big Nigerian software development firm shortly before I left, and I was talking to the director of engineering, and he said the same thing, that having to creating a scale and creating a way for doing performance ratings and all that for developers is really hard. It's hard to measure, and people are doing such different things. It's hard to have a standardized scale, and then but you also don't want to do things just emotionally or based on gut instinct because that creates an unfair system. It's very subjective. It's hard, but then you just have to maybe have some measurables and some of the things that one of the things that I think helped me make that transition was when I started paying more attention to software development as a professional in course, and that was based on some video series I watched. I was like watching some random things one time. I went for a conference for a while with a Konga training, and I got some materials on clean code by Uncle Bob C. Martin. So I don't agree with 100% of everything. And I think if you read a book and you agree with absolutely 100% of it, or you watch something, then maybe you didn't think about it deeply enough, or maybe just by some chance you found your kindred spirit somewhere else. But usually maybe you just take 95, 98%, and that's really, really great. So that was how it was for me, clean code. And it made me fundamentally from the first video, which didn't really talk about anything in particular, but just said, look, as a software developer, two key concepts. One, most of the time when people spend more time, as in developers in the team spend more time reading code than writing code, for instance. So anything you're writing should be with the concept that, okay, I should make it may be difficult to write it, but it should be as easy as possible to read this code and to have respect for your colleagues. So write code that you show that you respect whoever is going to have to read this code in the end. I think that was a major transition for me in my mindset. So the journey to being a good developer, great developer is of course still going on. But that was a mindset shift for me that okay, I should show respect to people in how I code. And that made me pay more attention to details, pay more attention to how I reviewed other people's code, for instance. And yeah, so I can't really say there was a major exact point where I became a good developer, but I know that was always a journey. And usually you get validation from outside. People start asking you for advice, and you're wondering, why is this person who I think knows so much more than me asking me for advice? But the truth is, everybody knows a lot in their own area, and you always have things to learn from people, things to give and things to get. So maybe you're good at one thing because you saw a problem like that a while back. That doesn't mean you're good at everything in that language or in that library. It just means you're able to solve that and just continue learning more and yeah, just keep pushing.
Nice. One good thing I got from that is that you should learn to respect others by watching how you code and putting people into consideration that okay, people have to read clean codes, and that's one of the steps. Like you said, that's one of the steps to at, you can take at getting better and being a good developer. Nice point there. Someone is also asking, maybe he has gone for several interviews and have been disappointed. Now that he has someone that is working in Germany, I think he wants some advice from you. It says, how, when, okay, I'm trying to get this question. Okay, what's your advice when he's going for a tech interview or a programming interview to secure a programming job, a software engineering developer job?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of things you have to factor in, and probably don't have enough time to say all of them. And usually, every time I go for an interview, I just Google, go check. I mean, when you Google, you see lots of articles, things on Quora, how to, what to do for a tech interview, and all that things to pay attention to. And there's a great book, Cracking the Coding Interview, and the first maybe 20 or so pages of the book is talking about not even coding or algorithms, but like things you need to factor in, like how to prepare your CV, for instance. Like you shouldn't have one CV for everything. You can have a master CV, like I have a master CV, but then for every job, I tailor my CV based on what they're looking for, what I've done, remove things, add things, modify things, change the language style, depending on how I perceive the company to be. So those are just some tips that you read in books like this. And I think one thing that happens, and I think maybe it's a Nigerian thing, what I've noticed a lot, especially Nigerians, is we sometimes do not read people enough. And reading people can be hard, but then, especially in an interview, sometimes we have a perception and we have trouble changing that perception in the middle. So you come to an interview and maybe you're defensive, for instance, and people are joking with you, but because you're defensive in the beginning, you do not know how to make that shift based and adapt based on the situation. Or you've read somewhere that for an interview you should be confident, and then you go there and you are overconfident and you rub people the wrong way. So there are many factors that could come into it, but interviews, especially that after you've done the technical part, if it's like when it comes to the face-to-face and the personal thing, and then people skills become more important, and then there are books on things like that as well, body language, emotional intelligence, and so many of them. And but most techie people, usually it's harder for us, I think, to deal with people than maybe somebody who is good at arts or something. But then, yeah, there's a lot of things. I can't answer that question exhaustively. Read materials, just continue to go online and check, and you'll see. I can't even think of any site right now that I can recommend, but Google and you find lots of things on that.
Okay, so to that person, please Google. You find a lot of things that can help you. Yeah, of course, everything you need right now is online. There are a lot of videos you can watch that guides you through processes that you or guidelines, at securing jobs and all of that. Get your hands on tutorials to for your soft skills. Or a lot of tutorials online. We have Udemy that offers free coding tutorials and all of that. We have materials. We have even blogs that teaches you how to code, and you can lay your hands on all of this. All of them are online, and I know a large percentage of youths these days have access to internet, and so you can use what you have. Even if we don't have so much internet, you can use the little that you have to get yourself better and land yourself that dream job of yours.
There's one thing I would like to add though. If you find that you're constantly being dropped, say at the face-to-face interview or the pair coding interview stage or something where you have to interact with people, maybe it will help for you to find somebody else, a friend, a colleague who has gone ahead or worked somewhere like that before to help you do some mock interviews that could help you and the person could be able to point out things that you're doing wrong. So that could be one thing that would help. I just thought about it now. So
Yeah,
that helps as well.
that's a good point too. Right. All right. I'd like to know. I'd like to ask you this question: what is that thing that you did outside your comfort zone, and then you are glad to did that you are glad you did today?
Oh, many things. Like, say, for instance, moving to Germany was outside my comfort zone. So people would be like, haha, that is, you're moving to a first world country and everything. But then you're moving to a country, it's hard to explain. And of course, I tried to read a lot and all that. So you know that this is a country where the population is 98% or maybe 99% white. This is a country whose official language is not English, but then if you've traveled to only English speaking countries, it doesn't dawn on you until you get there and you get to the airport, and then maybe airports are international, so you see signs in different languages. Where you go to a shop and you want to buy cream, and everything is in maybe German, French, and Dutch or something, and you can't even read it in English, and then you're like, okay, English is really not a thing here. And you get letters from the government, and there's no English words whatsoever. And I was happy about it. So initially, I was like, okay, will I ever um, what am I doing here? At some point, you have that because people interact differently. The social life that you are used to in Nigeria, where you go to, you're queuing at an ATM and you make a friend there with somebody and you guys go for lunch somewhere later or somebody see each other later, 2 weeks later, you guys hailing you like you've been friends since childhood, things like that. It just doesn't happen here and it's hard to explain. But of course, it allows you to see many things. So many things that you grew used to accepting as normal, you begin to question them and say, okay, I grew up with this, and no culture. I don't believe any culture is superior or inferior. It's just different. Some people have been able to do better things with their own history and all that. Others haven't, but I don't think the cultures in themselves have superiority or inferiority. And so you go to question some of these things, and I think that's how you grow and develop as a human being. When you question some things that you always accepted from childhood as being true, and then you say, okay, these things maybe they're not as true as I thought they were. Maybe there's another way of doing it that's better, or you even grow to appreciate these things. So that was one of the things. Another thing that I did, I'm grateful I did, was the course I mentioned, the Coursera course on finance. So it
Okay.
was, I studied computer science and mathematics in school, right? So lots of mathematics, but then it was mostly theoretical mathematics. So this was like real calculations and all that. And it's just, and the reason I wanted to do it was because that was shortly after, okay, the markets had crashed in '08, and then the world economy was growing again. And I feel that a lot of it didn't make sense to me. And I'm thinking money is so important in life, but I don't understand money enough. And there was a free Coursera course on that, and I started doing it, and I learned a lot. Like it changed the way I thought about things like loans and debts and value, how to value something, and how that changes over time and all that. So I was really glad I did that, and of course, it helped me at work later on when I went to work in the loan company. So that was one thing. It was hard for me to do. Sometimes I'd be really tired at night, and I would think so hard because it was just very different from everything I've been doing. But I was happy I did that. Another thing I did that I'm happy was get physically fit because when I started working as a developer, I started getting unfit, but then it was hard, but I was able to get some of my fitness back. So that's paid off, I think. So yeah,
All right. It's great response.
yeah.
I would like to ask this question from you. Um, I'd like to know what's your biggest achievement in your personal work as a developer? The biggest achievement you want to share with us? The biggest achievement, your success story, so far in your journey as a software developer.
Mm, yes, it's usually a trick question in interviews. So I usually prepared beforehand. I didn't know it was coming. You told me you wouldn't ask me questions like this. Okay. Biggest achievement. I think I've had a few situations in different places I've worked where um, there were things that, okay, I remember a single one now. This was back in Conga. It's far enough for me to be able to talk about it in detail. And we had this Yakata sale coming up, and we knew our systems were going to crash the way they were built. And um, with a small team and director of engineering and all that, we created a new system to route part of our traffic. We were like pretty much extending the web server, the Nginx web server, and we extended it with Lua, a scripting language, because Lua provided some of the we had APIs, basically Nginx APIs that we could use to do some of the things we did. So we routed the logic through Redis, and we just did a lot of really crazy things, and it worked. The system was able to hold up and to manage the load importantly. And we did this all within like maybe 3 weeks to a month to when we actually needed it to be done. And it was after we had done it that I realized how crazy what we did was. Like we pretty much bet the and the companies every year, maybe it was true, it was false, who knows, but then every year it always felt like the survival of the company developed depended on what happened during those sales. And we were able to pull that off that time. And for me, I'd only been developing professionally for maybe like 2 years, then or 3 or something like that. And it was a huge thing to be able to be trusted with that responsibility at that point in time to try something as crazy as that out and for it to actually stand. So after that, I just felt that after you've done some pull something like that off, you feel like you can do almost anything, and it's a really good confidence booster. So yeah, I think that was a really great moment for me. I think that's something I'm really proud of that we were able to accomplish back then.
Yeah. Thank you, Omoloro. I asked that question to encourage someone who might think something that is facing right now is so difficult to achieve, or he wants to learn something and then he gets at it the first time and wants to run back. So I asked that question to, make them know that whatever seems difficult, you can do it. And there's just one way to find out, by facing it the way
Yeah.
it is. So you can always do whatever you want to do, no matter how difficult it seems the first time. It's you are never going to if you don't take that bold step at it, you're never going to know it. So just face it the way it is, and I'm sure you find people around you can help you. You find tutorials that can guide you, and of course, you can achieve that thing that you really want to achieve. So that's why I asked you that question, and thank you for making the point about confidence booster, and every attempt that you make at every attempt that you make at solving a problem, boost your confidence at solving other problems.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked that question, and I hope somebody learns that lesson too. All right. I don't know if there is anyone online who wants to share, who wants to ask Omoloro a question. Of course, it has to be it has to be a question that surrounds his field his work around software development and software engineering. We won't like personal questions to be asked here. So if you want personal questions, you want to ask him personal questions, you can reach out to him one on one. So is there anyone online who wants to ask Omoloro any question? Is there anyone? You can unmute if you want to ask a question so that we can hear you. All right. I guess there is none. There is none. Okay. I have come to the end of my questions here, and I want to sincerely thank Omoloro for taking time out to join on this call today. Your input and impact today is cannot be measured. You have really helped me personally, to understand some things, and learn that it's all about constant development. There's no end to learn, and we want to appreciate your time, and thank you for. You have a question. He has a question. Okay. All right. Sorry, Samuel. I'll bring you on now. Yeah, you can ask your question. We can hear you, Samuel. Samuel, can you unmute? We can't hear you. Can't hear you at all. We can still hear you, Samuel. All right, all right, all right, all right. I wish we got your question, Samuel, but unfortunately we can't hear you at all.
Or is it possible for him to type in the chat
Can you
box
type in
there?
the chat so that we can have it? Yeah, I'm waiting for your chat, Samuel. I haven't seen any chat here.
Okay, I've seen messages. Said, okay, are you getting this?
Have you seen his question? I am
I
missing
haven't
any.
seen the question. I can just see him. He just asked if we could see it, but then he didn't type any question.
Okay, all right. So that I won't waste time, I would like to sincerely thank you for joining on Ask Me Anything today, and I want to also thank everyone that has joined and has been a part of this today. I want to sincerely appreciate your effort at learning from those who are also growing in the field. Um, this is just so that we can all grow together and become better at what we do together. So that's the essence of this. I want to say thank you to everyone, and I will see you on the next edition of AMA. Very soon. I can't tell you a time where we'll be having this, but very soon we'll be having another edition of Ask Me Anything with developers. All right. Thank you, everyone, and bye for now.